Galapagos Islands are a group of islands about 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who live there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the islands in a ship called the Beagle and wrote about the unique animals he found there, including giant land tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin's studies in the Galapagos helped him develop his theories about animal and human development. On North Seymour Island, there are many blue-footed boobies, the type of bird that does interesting things to attract a mate. The birds exchange presents and dance around as they show off their bright blue feet. The islands have unusual plant life and trees, and some of them have thick forests or lovely beaches where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on only 5 of the islands. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the islands and is home to the Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of their location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot, but during the cold season, which lasts from June to November, a steady cold wind blows. It rains lightly for most of the day, and there is often a thick fog. During the warm season of December to May, the average temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there are sometimes heavy rains. Also, because of their location far from any other land, for many years the islands had little contact with people. The types of animals and plants that develop there are unique in the world. The first Europeans to discover the islands arrived in the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did find evidence that South American people had been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats, cows, dogs, rats, mice, sheep, horses, and insects to the islands. These creatures threatened the native animals and birds, which could not defend themselves.
Most of the 40,000 people who lived there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island in a ship called the Beagle, and probably knew the animals he found there, including giant tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin's studies in the Galapagos helped him develop theories about animal and human development. On North Seymour Island, there are many boobies, a type of bird that does interesting things to attract mates. The birds exchange presents and dance around as they show off their bright and blue feet. The island have unusual plant life and trees, and some of them are straight pools, lovely beaches, where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on only 5 of the island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island, and is home to the Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot, but during the cold season, which runs from June to November, a steady cold wind blows. It rains right on the first of the day. There is often a thick fog. During the warm season of December to May, the temperature is around 25 degrees, which is warm and sunny, while there are sometimes heavy rains. Also, because the location for many of around for many years, the island has little contact with people. The types of animals and plants developed are unique in the world. The first Europeans to discover the island arrived in the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did not evidence that South American people had been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats, squirrels, dogs, rats, mice, sheep, horses, and insects to the island. These creatures threatened the native animals bred, which could not defend themselves. The island are part of Ecuador. Because the animals and plants the island are so usual, the Ecuadorian government and other organizations make serious effort to protect them. There have been several programs to get rid of them. Many scientists come to the island for study and research, They try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and the growing number of tourists both threaten the neighborhood. Galapagos Island, a group of around 1,000 kilometers of western end of the Pacific Ocean. Most of the people who lived there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island in a ship called the Beagle, and wrote about unique animals he found there, including giant tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin's studies in the Galapagos helped develop the series of the animal and human development. On Nell Seymour Island, there are many blue-footed boobies, a type of bird that's interesting things to attract mates. The birds exchange presents and dance around the shore with the blue feet. The island have unusual plant life and trees, and some of them thick forests and lovely beaches where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on the only 5 of the island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island, and is home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of the location, the Galapagos Islands should be home. But during the cold season, which lasts from June to November, a steady cold wind blows. It rains literally most of the day, and the afternoons take blow. During the warm season, the December to May, the bottom temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there are sometimes heavy rains. Also, because of the location for 1 year round, for many years the island are little contact with people. The types of animals and plants developed there are unique and rare. The first Europeans to discover the island arrived in the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did find evidence that South American people had been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats, girls, goat, dogs, rats, romances, horses, and insects to the island. These creatures ruled the nail animals and birds, which could not defend themselves. The island operated by God. Because the animals and plants in the island are so usual, the Ecuadorian government and the organization make serious effort to protect them. There have been several programs to get regular. Many scientists come to the island for study and research. They try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and the growing number of tourists are both threats to the neighborhood of the island. The Galapagos Island, a group of islands about 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who live there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island in a ship called the Beagle, and wrote about unique animals that he found there. Tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin's studies on the Galapagos helped develop a series about animal and human development. And not Seymour Bluefoot, a type of bird that's interesting things that try to mate. The birds exchange presents and dance around the shore hold their blue feet. The island have unusual plant like and tree. Some of them seek for trees or beaches where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on the only 5 of the island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island, and it's home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of the location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot, but during a cold season, which lasts from June to November, a steady cold wind blows. It rains almost every day, then often a thick fall. During the warm season, December to May, the average temperature around 25 degrees. Also, because of the location far from the middle of the land, for many years under little contact with people, the types of animals and plants developed are unique in the world. The first Europeans to discover the island arrived in the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people have been before. European brought girls, cats, cows, dogs, rats, mice, poisons, and insects to the island. These creatures returned the number of birds, which could not defend themselves. The island are part of Ecuador. Because the animal and the plant in the so usual, the organization makes serious effort to protect them. There will be probably to get rid and such. When scientists come to the island for study and research, they try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and the growing number of tourists are both adopted the native life of the island. The Galapagos Island, a group of islands about 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador and the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who lived there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island in a ship called the Beagle, and wrote about the unique animals he found there, including giant tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Animal and human development. No similar and many blue rubies, a type of the bird in this interesting central treatment. The birds exchange presents and dance around the shore at the feet. The islands are unusual several tree, and some of them are stake for lovely beaches where visitors can swim in the play. There are people living on the far left of the island. The island of St. Cruz has the largest human population in the island, and it's home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot, but during the hot cold season, which is from June to November, the steady cold wind blows. It rains most of the day. There is often a freak fall. During the warm season, the December to May, but the temperature around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, because sometimes heavy rains. Also, because the location from many urban land for many years, the island have little contact with people. The types of animals and plants are developed are unique and the world. The first of Europeans to discover the island at the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did find evidence that South American people had been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats, brought goats, which could not defend themselves. The islands are part of Ecuador because the animals and plants in the island are so unusual. The Ecuador government and other organizations make serious effort to protect them. Several programs to get goats. Many scientists come to the island for study and research. They try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and the growing number of tourists were boosted. 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who live there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island in a ship called the Beagle. A whole about unique animals he found, including giant tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin studied in the Galapagos helped to develop theories about animal and human development. Unknown similar and many blue-footed rubies, a type of bird does interesting things to mate. The birds exchange presents dance around the south of the bird's blue beak. The island have unusual several life and trees. Some of them are stick forests or lovely beaches, where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on 85 of the island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island, and it's home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot, but during the cold season, which lasts from June to November, a steady cold wind blows. It rains little most of the day. There is no quick fall. During the warm season, December to May, we have a temperature around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, because sometimes heavy rains. Also, because the location on many of around, for many years, the island had little contact with people. The types of animals and the plants are developed are unique in the world. The first European discovered the island and it's home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of the location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot. The during the cold season was from June to November, steady cold winter. It rains It rains lightly for most of the day. It rains lightly for most of the day. It rains lightly for most of the day, and it rains lightly for most of the day, and it rains lightly for most of the day, and is often a frog. During the warm season of December to May, the other temperature around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny because sometimes because but the, it rained lightly it rained lightly for most of the day. It rains lightly for most of the day, and there's also no for it rains also. It rains light for most. It rains lightly for most of the day. It rains lightly for most of the day. It rains lightly for some. It rains. It rains lightly for. It rains. It rains lightly for most of the day, and there's also. It rains lightly for most of the day, and there often a sick frost. During the warm season of December to May, the upper temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there are sometimes heavy rains. Also, because of the location for it rains lightly for most of the day, there is often fog. It rains lightly for most of the day, there is often a thick fog. It rains lightly for most of the day, and it rains lightly for most of the day, and there is often thick fog. During the warm season of the December to May, the ambient temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there are sometimes heavy rains. Also, because of the location for many years, Ireland had little contact with people. The types of animals and the plants that develop are unique in the world. The first Europeans to discover the island arrived in the 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did find evidence that South American people have been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats, squirrels, dogs, rats, mice, poisonous insects to the island. These creatures threatened the native animals and birds, which could not defend themselves. The island appeared of Ecuador. Because the animals and plants in the island are so unusual, the Ecuadorian government and other organizations make serious efforts to protect them. The summer program of schools. Many scientists come to the island for study and research. They try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and a growing number of tourists. Around the regular It rains lightly for most of the day. There is often a thick fog. Thick fog. It rains lightly for most of the day. There is often a thick fog. During the warm season of the December to May, the temperature is 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there is sometimes heavy rain. It rains lightly for most of the day. There is often a thick fog. During the warm season of the December to May, about the temperature to 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny because sometimes. Also, because the location for many around many years, they are in little contact with people. The types of animals and plants develop are unique and world. The first of Europeans discovered London about in the 16th century. They didn't find any people, but the evidence that the South American people have been there before. Europeans brought goats, cats. It rains for most of the day, and there's often a thick fog. During the warm season of December to May, the urban temperature is around 20 degrees. It is warm and sunny, but there are sometimes heavy rain. Also, because of the location far from anywhere around, for many years the island have little contact with people. The types of animals and plants that develop are unique and world. The first European to discover the island arrived in the early 16th century. You don't find any people that the South American people had been there before. European brought goats, cats, cows. During the retreat for most of the day. During the retreat for most of the day, there is often a thick fog. During the warm season of December to May, about the temperature around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny. We can sometimes have rain. Also, because of location for many around, for many years there are little contact with people. The types of animals and plants they develop are unique and world. The first Europeans discovered the island arrived in the 16th century. They didn't find any people, but there is evidence that South American people have been there before. Elephants, birds, goats, cats, squirrels, dogs, rats, mice, sheep, poisonous insects, severe. These creatures root the animal which could not defend themselves. Part of Ecuador. Because the animals and plants on the island are unusual, the Ecuadorian government and the organization make serious and lately for most of the day, there is often a sick pool. There's a warm season, December to May, the average temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny, sometimes heavily. Also, because the location far from any other land, for many years, the island little contact of its people. The types of animals and plants developed are unique. The first Europeans to discover the island alive in the 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that people had been there before. A unique word. Developed there. The types of animals and the plants are developed there. So animals and plants are developed they are unique in the world. The types of animals and plants developed they are unique in the world. Types of animals and plants developed they are unique in the world. Types of animals and plants developed they are unique. Animals developed they are unique. Developed they are unique in the world. The types of animal plants developed they are unique in the world. The first European to discover the island alive. Types of animals that plants discover. The types of animals and plants developed they are unique in the world. The first European discovered the island alive in the 16th. They didn't find any people, but they didn't. They didn't find They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been there before. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find any. But they didn't find any people, but they didn't find any sponsors. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find any. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find any. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that people had been there before. European bird gods find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been there. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people been there before. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been there before. European bird gods. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been before. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been before. They didn't find any people, but they didn't find evidence that South American people had been there before. European birds, goats, cats, girls, dogs, mice, sheep. Galapagos Islands are a group of islands about 1,000 kilometers west of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who live there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Darwin sailed to the island on a ship called the Beagle, and wrote about unique animals he found there, including giant tortoises, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin studies in the Galapagos helped develop serious animal and human development. And now Seymour Island are many boobies, the type of birds and interesting things to talk to mate. The birds exchange presents and dance around the shell of their blue feet. The island have unusual bright and tree. Some of them are stick for lovely beaches where visitors can swim and play. There are people living on the 5D island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island and is home to Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of the location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot. During the cross season, which lasts from June to November, the study called wind crows. It rained regularly most of the day, and the ocean thick fog. During the warm season, the December to May, the temperature around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny. There are sometimes heavy rain. Also, because of location, for the many of the land, many years the island have little contact with people. The types of animals and plants developed are unique in the world. The first Europeans to be discovered island was in the early 16th century. They didn't find any people, but there were evidence that South American people had been there before. European brought goats, cats, crows, dogs, rats, mice, poisonous insects to the island. These creatures threatened animals and birds which could not defend themselves. The island are part of Ecuador because the animal and plant island are unusual, and the government and other organizations make serious protect them. Some program protocols and many scientists count the island for study and research. They try to protect the natural environment of the human population living on the island and a growing number of tourists of never. The Galapagos Islands are a group of islands about 1,000 kilometers western Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. Most of the 40,000 people who live there speak Spanish. In the early 19th century, Charles Darwin sailed to the island on a ship called the Beagle and wrote about unique animals he found there. Along the characteristics, sea lions, whales, and unusual birds. Darwin studies the Galapagos helped develop theories about animal and human development. A nice Seymour around are many blue and blue types of birds and interesting things that attract mate. The birds exchange presents and dance around the shell of the blue feet. The islands are unusual in the light and tree. Some of them are stick for lovely beaches where visitors can swim and play. There are people living only 5 the island. The island of Santa Cruz has the largest human population in the island. They have not for Charles Darwin Research Station. Because of location, the Galapagos Islands should be hot. During the cold season, November, the study called wind blow. It rains most of the day. There is no plenty of cloud. During the warm season, December to May, the temperature is around 25 degrees. It is warm and sunny. We can sometimes have rain. Also, because the location only was around, many easy islands have little contact with people. The types of animals and plants developed there are unique in the world. The first Europeans to discover the island arrived in the 16th century. They didn't find any people, but they did find evidence that South American people have been before. Europeans brought goats, cats, girls, dogs, rats, mice, poisonous insects to the island. These creatures threatened the native animals and birds, which could not defend themselves. The island are part of Becca. Because the animals are brown, the island is also unusual, and the government and the other organizations make serious effort to protect them. They have a program to get locals, and many scientists come to the island for study and research. They try to protect the natural environment, but the human population living on the island and the growing number of tourists are boosters.